Hey everyone, I'm Norm. Welcome to Breaking Back, a tennis podcast by fans, for fans, covering all aspects of the game with an unfiltered lens. And I'm here with my co-hosts, Peter and Chris. Welcome to Breaking Back.
All right, so I was in college and I met this girl named Nicole. And she was into art, and she went to Mass Art. I was at Emerson. It wasn't a very long-lived relationship, but we kept in touch, and we were friends. And years later, we ended up working together at Arnold Advertising. She was an art director, and I was a producer. And we both worked on Volkswagen. Anyhow, this is one of those friendships like the two of you. I've known this person for a really long time, and we've stayed in touch. So many, many years later, she's living in Eagle Rock, just outside of L.A., super hip neighborhood. I'm sure you've heard about it. And I was going out to dinner with her. I drove out to pick her up, and I'm sitting in her living room, and her roommate comes in, and she's chatting with me and stuff, and I'm looking at her. And her boyfriend is a guy, I'm blanking on his name, but her boyfriend's father is the actor David Strathairn. And her son plays in a band called Dawes.
Okay.
He was the piano player in the band Dawes.
Great band.
Yeah. And phenomenal piano player. So he's sitting in the other room on this upright, playing away, and it's great because it's just like, oh, I'm in Eagle Rock, hipsters, Nicole's cool. And I'm talking to this woman, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, my God, she looks just like Meryl Streep. She looks just like Meryl Streep. And chatting away, and my friend Nicole walks in, and she's sitting down, and I just had to say, I'm like, I have to just say this. Has anyone ever said to you that you look just like Meryl Streep?
No.
And Nicole looks at me and goes, you're such a fucking idiot. Her mom is Meryl Streep. I'm like, right, of course. She's like, didn't I tell you that? And I'm like, no, you didn't tell me that, but now I know. Okay. So, yeah, I look like a total douchebag.
Do you guys get these texts that are like random where it says, like this one, "Good afternoon, I like meeting new people, which can help us increase our knowledge and horizons. Do you mind making new friends?" No, it's like these are like, it's spam. It's like some Chinese hacker trying to get me to share Do you get this stuff?
Via text? Too. Someone says, oh, hey, how you doing? And I was like, I think you got the wrong number. And they're like...
Right.
And then like, what like, then they start fishing.
Right,
so,
they're trying to get you...
Well, while I have you, how are you?
Talking.
Yeah, while you're at it, what's going on?
Yeah, how you been?
Block.
Yeah. Yeah, I get those every day, but it's usually, hey, Jeanette, how you been? Or,
right.
Yeah, that's what
hey,
it is.
Right.
what are we doing? We still on for lunch today?
Right.
And then they get you talking to them to your point, and then you're hooked.
Sometimes I have fun with them. I'm like, no, like, or something really crude back. Like, was that you? I banged in the back of the taxi last week or something. And they're like, oh, who's this? I mean, they're just trying to get your name,
I think
right?
I think it works with the older generation. Like my mom has 3 or 4 conversations where they say, hey, it's me, your nephew. Will, how you been? Oh, I've been great. And then, so I think it works with the older generation, but I don't think we're...
Then they get the credit card.
Right. They have pieces of information. They just need like a name, a dog's name, whatever, right? And then they're like, get the pass.
Excuse me. Welcome to Breaking Back, presented by Portland, Maine's Lone Pine Brewing Company in their new Juice Punch Hazy IPA. Now available in all distribution markets. Visit lonepinebrewery.com to find it nearby. Juice Punch marries juicy hops with a silky malt to present a hop-heavy, plush, and playful punch. Lone Pine's also released 2 additional beers this summer, one called Summer Lights Sweet Citrus Ale, and an additional one called Slay All Day Pride IPA, on the heels of Pride Month. Additionally, Lone Pine has a vodka they've launched, and I think the official drink of the summer is this called Rumble the Rocks drink. It's Lone Pine vodka, 1/3 vodka, you don't want to hear this, 2/3 lemonade with watermelon ice cubes. Phenomenal.
So it's like a shandy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, highly recommended.
Have you had this Summer Lights Sweet Citrus Ale?
I have not, but there's one staring us in the face.
Okay, maybe we should try that.
So, we can definitely try that.
You have to read that like it's copy. Peter, have you had the Summer Lights Citrus Ale?
Funny you should ask.
I got some right here. I tell you, I have been asking for Lone Pine in southern Maine, and I've been finding it at the Pilot House down in Kennebunk and a couple places, but never the juice punch yet. But man, I keep some in the fridge at all times.
Yeah. Good stuff. They're getting more aggressive in Maine. They have the new location, the beer garden in Old Orchard Beach, which is awesome. A huge fire pit in the middle of it, super packed with a bunch of you folks from away.
Massholes.
Yes, AKA. But no, thank you, Lone Pine.
You're an
And Juice
immigrant
Punch,
too.
Hazy.
Cheers to Lone Pine.
Oh, well, I'm a Mainer.
Peter's a Mainer now. Yeah, you're
Plus,
the only
we're in-
outsider.
Eight
We're in
years.
down East Maine, which is really still Massachusetts. Let's be honest.
It is now. That's a whole nother podcast, though.
It is.
But anyway, boys, we're here. First of all, welcome back, Mr. Jennings. We've missed you these last couple of podcasts. What have you been up to?
I had a corporate break. Working for the man
Yeah.
has kept me a little busy, but I've been watching a lot of tennis and definitely texting and contributing to the cultural phenomenon that is this podcast.
That's right.
I've been getting hundreds and hundreds of texts and emails, phone calls from people.
Yeah, you've been quite a instigator or
When
on
it's
on Instagram. You've had some
I
good
do troll a little bit,
engagement. Yeah.
telling people to trim their nose hair.
Right.
So, welcome to episode 5 of the Breaking Back podcast. I think it's going to be a chatty one, which is good. We have no external guests, just the three of us here at the studio, Portland. And we will beckon back our engineer when we are good and ready. So, on to Wimbledon. So first of all, guys, like, I'm pretty fucking excited because tomorrow I'm actually going to get on a plane. I'm going to fly to where they're having this magnificent tournament, and it's like for me the equivalent of going to some holy shrine.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that, and out of respect for you, Chris, and your sartorial talents, I am going to pack my blue blazer, a very nice Faraday shirt that I bought recently, and a rep tie. And make sure that I'm appropriately
Some khakis.
dressed. Yeah, some khakis, probably some comfortable shoes. But anyway,
You
I'll
can get
be
away
ready.
with. You can wear whatever shoes you want.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
I'm. I can't be more excited than I am right now to be able to go over here and see the event in person. And the guy I'm going to see on Wednesday, I know now, is Novak Djokovic. He's going to play. Who is he going to play? I think he's going to play.
Really
Dean Miller.
wanted Casper to make it through. I mean, he's Norwegian, so he's.
He got beaten pretty early, Casper.
I know.
And Kazim at Portland Trading Company could help you with your outfit, and he could help you. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Part 2.
So Wednesday, Demonauer is going to play Djokovic, and then Musetti Fritz.
So do you fly tomorrow and get in Wednesday morning,
Correct.
and then you're just going straight to Wimbledon?
Yeah,
You're gonna have to.
going to have to.
I wouldn't be
Just
able to
like
sleep tonight
the-
if I were you. I mean, you got to
What
be.
time's the match? 2 o'clock? 3 o'clock?
The matches on center court don't start before 1:30.
Okay.
Local.
So local time. So we'll probably throw our junk into the hotel and then go over.
And just to sort of go back to the sartorial thing, because it's important to me that we stick to some basics here. The reason why I'm thrilled to hear that you're wearing a tie to Wimbledon is because it's out of respect to that club. It has nothing to do. I mean, personally, I feel great when I'm wearing a tie. You just kind of ups your game. You feel like you've got a little dip in your hip. It's fantastic. But like Dave Grohl wore a coat and tie to Wimbledon.
He did.
Pulled his hair back.
Yeah.
Looked like he spiffed himself up. Patrick Mahomes didn't wear a tie. He wore a jacket, but you got to put the tie on.
I think he had a shirt on, and someone put the jacket on him. Because the first 2 times I saw him on camera, just in a white T-shirt and those funky glasses, and I'm like, really? That's what you're gonna wear to Wimbledon? And then by the time they got to him a 3rd time, my gut is someone might have gotten to him and said, you're on camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they
Or-
won't.
unless he was sitting on it.
I think that they might have a rule from the All England club that if they put you on camera, like that the broadcasters cannot put anybody on camera that's not in proper dress code.
Right.
And I think you're not allowed to sit in certain parts of the stands unless you're
Right.
wearing like everybody that's up in the balcony and that's off, camera area can, wear t-shirts and what have you. Or if you're sitting in the grounds in the grass, you can wear jeans and whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going to be in the royal box, which I imagine is where Grohl was,
Yeah.
you've got to
Mandatory sport coat. Yeah.
You have to.
He had this beautifully like chalked,
He looked great.
striped suit,
Yeah,
tie, vest. And he had a vest on too.
And he's no stranger to British culture. He's a huge Beatles fan. He's buddies with Paul McCartney. He knows how to carry himself. Plus, I think he comes from a DC area family. I'm sure he's not. He's middle
He's
class.
in the know.
Right.
Yeah. So if we're going to talk Djokovic, we got to start with the injury.
Yes.
And is it an
His
injury?
stomach. Which stomach?
Or-
Knee? What?
Today
So-
was his stomach.
You got to go back to the French Open. He was playing in
When he
round
did
16, and he
the split.
won a match. He won this match 5 sets, incredible. And but afterward, came up lame. Said his knee was banged up and he had to withdraw. And so he immediately had, quote, surgery. I'm using air quotes because the question I wanted to ask is it surgery or a procedure? And Peter, from being around sport your entire life, that there's a difference.
Well, to back it up, you can play hurt. You can't play injured. So
Right.
I would sort of say, is he hurt or is he injured? And in watching Zverev today versus T. Fritz,
Yeah.
he seemed to play hurt. And after that match today, he was sort of apologetic to T. Fritz at the net. Never another conversation, but they had the longest conversation I've ever seen two players have after the match at center court. It seemed to go on for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You're talking about the one from yesterday.
The match
when he-
today.
No, from today.
Oh, today.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
because
was
that was
Zverev.
the guy that yesterday that got wrapped. He got his knee wrapped, and then he had to.
Oh, her Kosh.
Bow out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's been more retirements, I think,
Yeah.
this Wimbledon, as well as 5-set matches, which we'll get into. But back to your question, I think there's hurt versus injured, and you have to play hurt, right? You can play hurt and just rub some dirt on it, do whatever you have to do, smelling salt, the spray-free stuff, whatever. Take your timeouts. But injured's a whole other thing, and I don't know. I don't have any scuttlebutt on whether it was surgery or procedure. But he looks a lot better than I think Zverev did.
So you said you
Today.
had a conversation with somebody about it. Let's hear what their theory is.
Well, we have Kazim's recording. We can hear from his own mouth. My theory is this. I think it's a combination of two things. Number one, I think he's a hypochondriac. And number two, I think he plays a mental game and uses these numerous injuries, ailments, whatever, to throw off his opponents and to keep them guessing about his freshness on the court, or his health. Is he 100%? Is he 90%? And at the end of the day, the guy goes out and he demolishes his opponents. He's won, numerous times. He's the living legend that he is. And I think it's all bullshit theater. That's it. I think it's just bullshit theater, and he's just not very good at it.
I think he uses it to gain an edge, and so and it seems to work. Right today, he played one of our favorites, Holger Rune, and I mean Holger is one of the best ball strikers on tour. Good friends with Djokovic. I think he's a little bit intimidated by him, but it was 6-3, 6-4, 6-2. Like it was over before it started.
Norm,
and
you got to be honest though. Like, if any coach were telling me, and I'm playing Joker, and they're like, well, he's got a bad knee, or his stomach might be bad, you should whatever. If any coach is paying any attention to his ailments, they should be fired. I mean, after how many years? Like, this has been going on for so long.
Right.
It's just part of his shtick.
right.
Like Muhammad Ali was really good at it. he could do the mental game. He could, he could entertain and
Rope-a-dope.
do all that and with the rope it up and all that kind of thing. Joker's just a really fucking good player that destroys his opponents, and he doesn't even need the mental bullshit because he'll beat you anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
he
hate
broke a
saying
sweat
that 'cause
today
it's
versus.
like a positive for him, but it's
Bruno.
true.
I don't think. I mean, the first set in particular was like 20-something minutes.
He had a couple
I mean-
times where like he did a split or his knee was tested, but he was barely broke a sweat. Here's my theory. I think he did not have surgery. I think he had a little procedure, right? Who am I to know? I reached out
Injection.
to a couple of doctors who would know, specifically what went down. So I talked to first Dr. David Johnson, who's an orthopedic surgeon with Southern Maine Medical here in Southern Maine. And he said surgery, arthroscopic surgery, when the meniscus is cleaned up or partially resected, is a pretty minor event. And he said people can be up and around pretty quickly, especially athletes. But he said something very interesting, and that if that's the case, by the time he's in a third, fourth, fifth set, that knee's going to start to feel some fatigue and pain, and it's going to bother him. And it'll swell and slow him down. And so what's interesting is DJ actually had heard Federer's speech, commencement speech at Dartmouth, where he talked about how many matches were won and lost by the smallest of margin, and how you fail repeatedly, right?
And he, being the great champion, barely eked over 50%
Exactly,
of
right?
winning points.
So think about how close all these matches are, and then you add in like that little seed of doubt, whether it's physical or mental, that Djokovic is going to have. I think to me, there's just no way he actually gets it done. Like that's kind of how I look at it. I think that's enough of a margin for a Sinner or an Alcaraz.
That he didn't have a procedure done.
I think he did have something, but I don't think it was enough to like knock him. Like it's not some miraculous recovery. It's not like Willis Reed coming back from a broken leg and playing in the whatever the finals in basketball. I mean, I think he had a clean little
Kirk Gibson's home run.
Right. Well, that was real. Like that guy was injured and he came off the bench
He could barely
and did
walk.
something. Exactly. Djokovic is out there like
It's the
doing
greatest
splits
home run ever.
on center court. So anyway, my take is just a procedure, not surgery, and I think he's fine. But I do think it's going to be just enough of a margin to keep him from winning.
And he's really dialed in for the Olympics too, correct? Or
He's going to play the Olympics, yeah, singles.
Okay, but he's not into it as much as Rafa, correct?
I mean, Rafa, this is like his last
This is it
event
for
ever.
him, right?
Yeah.
But do you think this is partial mind games or strategic advantage?
I mean, 'cause
Absolutely.
nobody,
Totally.
So
nobody gives a shit because Rafa, is going to play for Spain, and Joker plays for Serbia.
Yeah.
Or did he play for Monaco?
Serbia, yeah, right. Good point. Does Monaco have a team in the Olympics?
Yeah.
They'd have really sweet uniforms if they did.
I don't know. We'd have to ask Prince Albert.
So
Maybe they all have cock
we have to
rings.
remember, like these guys are all taking like definitely meds, performance enhancing drugs that we don't get. So like their recovery time is much faster.
So, there's a show on Netflix that's called A Man in Full, which is the
Tom Wolfe.
Tom Wolfe
Yeah.
book. It's not a very good production of the book, which is a phenomenal epic story. But there's a scene in the book where Charlie Croker, who's the main character, he has knee surgery, and they put a new knee in the guy, and he's in the hospital, and the orthopedist shows him this app he can put on his phone that'll exercise his knee using a robot or some kind of mechanism that he can control using an app on his phone. And that's the rehab that he'll be able to do anywhere he wants on his knee. So, I doubt, who knows if that's actually real, but I'm sure, someone of that caliber, look at what they can do in cycling. I'm sure that he has
all the help.
five of the best knee people in the world saying, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. Or I could just inject you with this and it'll be out of your system in a week and it'll miraculously fix all the ligaments and tendons in that area and they'll be brand new. I mean, who knows? There's so much stuff in medicine if you've got the right amount of money.
Well, that's just it. It's all about access and money, and he has it.
Certainly, the athletes are way ahead of the police. I mean, the drug testing that happens in the big four sports. I mean, these athletes and the agents and all their resources are far ahead. I mean, there's masking. You can mask anything, as you know. I mean, the blood test that you can do, what Tiger Woods did, where he takes his blood, whatever that's called, take all the blood out of your body and oxygenate it and then put it back in. Like, it's insane. The science behind it is... And you're right. I agree with you 100%. It started in cycling, or at least cycling. Really,
in the 80s. Yeah.
There's such a small line of demarcation in cycling, right? You're talking seconds over. How many days are the Tour de France? 21 stages.
26.
I mean, 26 stages. Like,
well, it's 22 stages, but over 26 days. They only take like 3 days off.
It's insane what those guys do from when it comes to recovery and nutrition and meds and legal, illegal, black market.
I've worked with guys who are on professional cycling teams, and they have to be woken up in the middle of the night because their heart rates are so low. If they don't wake them up, they'll die.
Yeah.
Because they're doping and the blood gets so heavy, and it's so if cyclists still do that and they're not even making that much money,
right? Djokovic,
imagine
like
what
20, 30
the
million
people who are making a shit ton of money are making,
right?
And you're going to tell me that tennis, with how many different governing bodies, 3, 4, 5,
8, yeah,
right? And I'm sure that they're all on the same page with their drug testing policy, right?
Well, so I talked to somebody who played on the tour, and that's what he said, is like the better players have more money and therefore more access to doctors who will keep you ahead of the curve.
I was going to say, so Djokovic is going to have a lot of resources as disposal, obviously the best in the world, to your point. But I think so do other players, like the Ben Sheltons of the world, who just had to play, I believe, his first 4 matches were 5-setters.
All 5-setters.
So think about that. I mean, he's playing 4 5-setters and all these rain delays too. I think he's played 4 5-set matches in like 6 or 7 days.
Yeah,
back-to-back days. So the second he's done, he's not just ice bathing, but he's doing every single, legal, illegal.
IVs.
IV, oxygen, tank, oxygen bar, tank, whatever.
Can somebody explain
you could possibly
to me,
do?
Like, to compare something between sports, in cycling, if you go on a group ride and you wear a sleeveless shirt, cycling jersey with arm covers, if they don't basically bully you and scorn you out of the ride, they won't ask you to come back on the ride. And every time I see Ben Shelton, what does he have, like a compression sleeve on his arm? What is that?
Yeah, it's just to keep his arm warm, because it's like a pitcher, right, in between innings in baseball.
Because that's his serving arm?
Yeah. Because he serves harder than anybody in
153
sport.
miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's next level, his serve.
So it's just a means.
But how many does he get in?
Most of them. Oh yeah, I mean, this is his.
I mean, enough to get to the quarterfinals of
yeah. Well, not quarters.
Round of 16.
But that's the thing. Like, the rest of his game still has to be on point, because you can't just win with a serve. You can do pretty damn well. But
Boris Becker did pretty well back in the day.
If you hold your serve, you're halfway there.
Yeah, Kevin Curran made the final. I mean, this guy.
Who was the guy that had the big serve before Shelton? Who was the guy in the 80s? What was his name?
Ivo Karlovic. I mean, like the guy who has the records for aces and whatnot. I mean, he had a phenomenal career because he would just hold serve. I mean, that's it. I mean, he was over 7 feet. Pericard, the French guy, who one of 4 lucky losers ever to reach the round of 16. He lost today, but he almost made the quarters on just a serve. Like, nobody had heard of this guy, but he's 6'8", and could bang like serves at 135 miles per hour. So on grass, yeah, and a 5-set match on grass is nothing compared to a 5-set match at the French Open.
court.
I mean, that's 5-6 hours. 5-set match on grass could be 3 hours. Because the points are short.
It's very
They
fast.
are noticeably short, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like serve, return, maybe a
Right.
winner, maybe
But
like
this
2 more
men's
shots.
singles, though, they'll get into some rallies. I mean, it's not much serve and volley anymore. It's more rally.
No, you can't because all these guys can return well, and the string and the racket technology is such that you can get your racket on the ball, like you can get a decent return. Whereas back in the day, like that wasn't the
They
case.
just blocked it back. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone who didn't fare so well or meet her goals at Wimbledon is our girl Coco.
Oh boy, Coco. But you know what? I mean, Emma Navarro's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Emma is. I know everyone thinks she's a kind of
She's the
Cinderella story out of
the
nowhere.
billionaire's daughter.
She is a billionaire's daughter, but she also is a former NCAA champion from University of Virginia,
Yes.
who had 4 players that were playing up until this past weekend. They had Danielle Collins, who sadly lost today, the Danimal. Diana Schneider, also a Lady Who's tennis player. And then Brandon Nakashima, who bowed out last round. All from UVA, all college tennis players.
Did they win the ACC, UVA, this women's team?
UVA was a juggernaut back
they
when
must have
those
been.
guys played. I'm not sure if they won this year or not. But anyway, Coco, yeah. She came undone against Emma.
Yeah. Yeah, it flashes of Naomi Osaka and Serena going against, the judge, the mental. There's a fine line, I feel like, with these athletes. And, once things start going bad, they're on an island out there. And I hate it when the athletes, point at their camps in this case and their coaches who are helpless. I mean, they have hand signals, right? And all she's doing is this with her hands, like, will you talk to me? Will you talk to me? And hands in the air like, hello. Well, what can you do at that point? You would think this plan B, quote, plan B and plan C would already have been discussed ahead of time, and she doesn't have to consult her coaches mid-match. As she's melting down, by the way, and which is hard to watch. I just hate that she was blaming, to some extent, her camp or her coaches. But back to Coco, Brad Gilbert is her primary coach, and he's also a broadcaster, which, is another conversation. I feel like that could be a conflict of interest if you're a coach of such a high-profile player like Coco Gauff at a critical point in her career, yet you're also focusing on being on ESPN and ABC and talking about all the tennis players. If you're Coco Gauff, who obviously now is frustrated with Brad Gilbert in camp, I wonder if she's going to be reconsidering
I think she
Brad
might be
Gilbert.
finding a new coach.
Yeah, so be interesting to see. There's coaches available like the Kyrgioses of the world, which will be another conversation. But Brad Gilbert's comment was he was very defensive of Coco and said that keep in mind she's been in Europe for 3 months and going from clay to grass and back to clay, now for the Olympics. And so he was really sort of trying to pass on the sentiment that it's extremely difficult on these players. And I think she'd hit a wall. I see what you're Cry me a river. That she'd hit a wall, but he was quick to come to her defense. And I do want to talk at some point about how difficult is it to go from grass to clay, from clay to grass and back to clay at some point.
All right, a couple things to unpack there. First of all, kudos to Coco because she is playing in the Olympics. She is proud to wear the red, white, and blue. Unlike Naomi Osaka
She's playing for
and
Japan, isn't
Tiafoe and Ben Shelton not playing the Olympics.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Tommy Paul,
Why wouldn't they?
Taylor Fritz playing the Olympics. Exactly. I mean, how do you not seize an opportunity to play for your country? I mean, I don't care what surfaces. I don't care if you're playing on like broken glass. Tiafoe in particular. I mean, this is a guy who, granted, he had I think the apex of his career was losing in the finals to Alcaraz 2 years ago at the U.S. Open. This year, ahead of his match against Alcaraz in the round of 32, he said, a year ago I was the 10th seed, and ever since I've been losing to clowns. Well, yeah, you've been losing because you're not that good, dude. You're like barely, at the Mendoza line for the year, and you're calling out your opponents for like being clowns.
I don't know.
I don't want you representing my country. I'm sorry. I lost a lot of respect for Tiafoe when he made that comment.
Where are his
Well, he wears
PR
that
people?
headband. It looks like he's going to a jazzercise class. I mean, it's not. It's a bit. The style's just not there anymore.
That said, he had a great match against Alcaraz. He kind of choked away the tiebreaker a bit, and then the match was over. But
He represented, though.
He
I
did.
thought he played really. I mean, I predicted he'd maybe win one set in a tiebreaker, and then just get wiped off the court for the other three sets. But
I can't respect somebody that calls their fellow players clowns. I mean,
right,
they have to hang out in the locker room together. It's not like this. It's a funny sport where most of these players have known each other for years and have played each other at tournaments for years and are friendly off court. I mean, and I learned that when I was a teenager, because remember when Stefan Edberg and John McEnroe were playing together and they had like a band and they were like in a band together. Or no, Vitas Gerulaitis, that's who it was. It was Vitas Gerulaitis and John McEnroe. But anyhow,
I don't think Stefan Edberg played the instruments, but go ahead.
no, he probably was staring at his shoes. But I know that these players all hang out in the locker room before the matches together. They might be
Yeah,
standing.
they travel the
opposite-
world
They
together
travel
every
all
week.
over the place.
Yeah.
So, for one of them to call the other ones clowns, you're gonna get, pissed on in the shower.
Yeah, he's on his way down. But I gotta say, like, props to Tommy Paul, and I really hope he gets through the next round against Alcaraz. I mean, he's right now. I checked on DraftKings. He's like plus 280. I think that's a really good. bet.
Paul is?
Yeah, I like his chances a lot. He's got such a good game for tennis. He's got compact strokes, great serve. He's mentally tough. He's just having a great year after some injuries. So, big fan of T. Paul, and especially since he represents, Old Glory in Paris.
and it's awesome just to have two American men in the quarterfinals at Wimbledon. Like,
Huge. We're back.
we are.
On the women's side, really odd that Swiatek was ousted by Putnetsova, who got completely waxed by Ostapenko today, actually. But why can't she win on grass? I mean, this woman totally dominates the clay court season. I don't know what kind of streak she was on, but she won a bunch of tournaments, including the French, and then she gets to Wimbledon, and
Well, none of the
kind of can't make it happen.
Sabalenka, what's her name?
Jabeur.
Jabeur, she's out, right?
She's had some injury.
She's had
issues.
injury stuff,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The women's bracket is wide open. Well, you have a 4, 7, 13, 19, 21, 31, and 2 unseeded players left on the women's side.
I gotta be honest.
Whereas the men still have the 1, 2, 3, and 5 seed. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna
it's
call
chalk
it right
on
now.
the men's
I know
side.
This is a strange time to call it, but I think Emma Navarro is gonna win the whole thing.
You're not alone. I mean, a lot of people. John McEnroe said she's got a really good shot to win.
She
it all.
looks like she's just got the fire and the hunger, and she's dialed in.
Yeah.
Well, she's playing the new crowd favorite in Paolini, the half pint
That's true.
Paolini,
Oh.
who looks like she's 4'10" out there, but the women are so much bigger, better, faster, stronger. She's actually 5'4", which I had to look that up because I was shocked.
Who's my favorite until she got beat? Kate
Bolter.
Bolter. She's 5'11". I mean,
Yeah.
they're huge.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
she.
that's not huge,
Paolini
but
looks
it's
like a little
tall,
kind of nymph
She's
out there running
tiny.
around.
Yeah, she looks
But
like a little person.
She's had a great run this year. I mean, the French Open final.
Well, and Ons Jabeur's got to be 4'5", 5'5". She can't be that tall.
She's not tall either.
But Sabalenka's 6 feet tall, isn't she? Or 5'10", 5'11".
I think she's over
tall.
6 foot.
I mean, it's
So
such an advantage.
I did look this up. The last time the women's draw lost half of the top 10 in the first week was 2013. And, at that point, a bunch of seeds were unexpectedly bounced in the early rounds, and notably in upsets caused by injury. So this year is very similar, oddly.
And this is since 2004, this year the most number of Americans have advanced. I think 7. Yeah, 7 Americans have advanced to whatever round we're at, and that's the most since 2000.
Oh, men and women, yeah.
Yeah,
combined.
That's great.
which is fantastic for American tennis. Maybe we'll have who is it? Rublev? Is he the one that needs to be put in a mental hospital?
He already lost. He was destroying his knee.
He was destroying his knee, and then he was hitting his arm.
But he out of respect for the All England Lawn Tennis Club, he refused to hit the court with his racket, so he abused himself.
Wow, that's really that's so healthy.
Peter, you were wondering about the dress code.
Yeah. Now for you, not only in the fans, but also on the court. Like, I thought I saw, is it Danielle Collins? Is that her name? I thought I saw green, something that wasn't black or white on a shoe. And I saw on the inside of her Adidas shoes was green, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. At Wimbledon, I've noticed, a lot of the sponsors' logos, like the Chipotle that's on T. Fritz's arm. And I was curious as to know the dress code, how strict is it? I'm sure it's like only 2% of the clothes or the apparel or the shoes can have color or a logo on it. Because if you're trying to create differentiation for yourself or for your brand at Wimbledon, it's just not going to happen. But if there's a little bit of color, and I could have sworn it was inside of Danielle Collins' Adidas I saw today, or sponsors logo. So I'm just curious as to know, Wimbledon sets the standard when it comes to traditions, right? Whether it's strawberries and cream or the Pimm's drink, which I still don't know what that is. You have to let me know how they are
Pimm's
in a few days.
It's a gin drink.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
They're really good.
If you get one thing at Wimbledon, I think you get a Pimm's.
Yes.
And strawberries and cream, give or
Back in
take.
the day when, I imbibed, I could put back a bottle of Pimm's in the afternoon.
That would be a good podcast.
So it's gin.
Yeah.
It's an English.
It's a gin with botanicals.
You can put
Okay.
Pimm's and ginger ale, just mix the two and put it in a plastic cup. And
Okay.
You're off to the races.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the dress code actually says that players must wear almost entirely white clothing. Off-white and cream, not acceptable. And interestingly, they call out undergarments. Any undergarments that are visible during play, including through the outer clothing, must also be white. So this goes back to what we talked about in a previous episode, how they allowed women to wear colored undergarments due to
I saw a player wearing a
menstruation.
darker, a female player wearing a darker undergarment in a match, and it caught my attention only because I think this might be the first year they're allowing that. Or,
You were looking up
or they're not
skirts,
allowing
or
it.
how did you
and
notice
she's getting
that?
a fine. I was watching a match. Yeah.
Do you have a
She
special
served and it flew up.
camera angle?
Yeah, but God, remember Tracy Austin? She'd have like the fluffy thing that looked like a bunny sticking off her ass.
Serena. Serena wears all the fluffy.
Yeah.
But you can't get that creative at Wimbledon, unfortunately.
I
So
haven't-
at some point we'll talk fashion, probably on future podcasts. And this would not be the tournament to talk fashion because there's only so much you can do, right? With white.
Well, I
see a lot of
actually
white hats,
surprised-
a lot of white hats on backwards. That's about as funky as you can get.
Well, I was surprised that they seem to. You don't have to have a collar. They're okay with you being sleeveless. But do the shirts have to have buttons?
I don't know if they go that far.
That's a good question.
Like, can they be like your shirt like that?
Maybe.
I think because
Alcaraz
I think they
wears a
all
t-shirt.
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just
No
surprised
collar.
because I thought for a long time they had to have it had to be white with collars, and that was it.
I think they've definitely loosened that. Shoes must be white. Headbands, wristbands. Although the knee braces are definitely not white; they're black and gray. And
Good point.
Which is
but for spectators,
yeah,
smart attire.
right.
That's it. Smart
No
attire.
formal dress code. Smart attire is encouraged.
Which, if you know anything about the British, that means dress like you respect yourself and everyone around you.
Dressed like David Beckham and Roger Federer.
Yeah, just follow their lead. Or Idris Elba. I mean, he always shows up looking like $1 million.
Well, boys.
What else?
I mean,
What's after Wimbledon? We did the
Olympics.
Well, the Olympics, and then
Yeah.
and then that's it, right?
The Olympics.
The
and
US
then-
Open.
Yeah, we got the Olympics, which will be super fun. Clay, middle of the summer.
U.S.
and then it's the run up to the U.S. Open. So it's like the Canadian events, whether it's in Toronto or Montreal this year, I'm not sure. Washington, D.C., Winston-Salem, home of the Demon Deacons, and then Cincinnati.
We
and
should do
New
a
York.
show
The
from
ATP.
Montreal.
Yeah, I want to say
That'd
that
be
twice.
fun. That'd be hilarious.
I've got some leftover cash from my trip up there, so why not? I mean, got to spend it.
There's an F1 race up there
It's
I
20%
just yeah,
cheaper.
I was just there for
on that island.
I've never
on
done
the
that.
island.
That's like one of those things that everybody talked about doing in college and boarding school that I never did.
What, the F1 race in Montreal?
Yeah, like the boys' weekend in Montreal, and
Oh.
like Club Super Sex and the F1.
I did
all
that at a bachelor party. It was the best bachelor party I've ever been to in my life.
That's people have said that.
Oh my God.
And there's a guy, Matt Rocket, that I worked with, and he's like, "You got to come with us to Grand Prix Montreal weekend." I'm like, I didn't have the money or whatever. It's not cheap.
No.
And yeah, he came back and he's like, I can't move.
Yeah, it's my night was like a bottle rocket. It went off like a shot and ended very quickly.
He
but,
was damaged for weeks after that.
It was a good time in Montreal. Although this last time I was in Montreal, I had to notice that the roads. I often complain about the roads in New England.
The entire city is
Montreal.
under construction.
Oh my God, it is.
Every road outside the
Oh,
city is under construction.
it's
and has
disaster.
been for 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
It's a disaster. There must be a concrete
Yeah, Club
strike
Super
or
Sex
something.
closed though, but the sign's still up. it's still
Maybe
there.
next time we'll broadcast from Club Super Sex
Yeah.
and do the Montreal or Canadian Open, whatever it's called now.
Better than-
Breaking back on the road.
We could do that. We could do that, and we could go to Bambi's in Tijuana.
I do have breaking news though, which
Whoa.
is of somewhat local import, and that is
Oh,
a tournament that has always been run for the last 25 years in Kennebunkport on Labor Day weekend. It's always on the Friday. Had been affectionately known as the Foster's Cup, and this year, in honor of members of the club down there, it will be known forevermore as the Molson Cup.
Ooh, rebrand.
Rebrand and new swag,
Crikey.
some Coors Light, and I think probably plenty of Molson Golden. So very exciting.
I like that.
Yeah,
And that's the
No
club
more
right there
Foster's
across
oil
the river,
cans.
right?
yeah.
Right there.
Don't you have to drink like between?
Those
In
are
between each round,
games and
you gotta drink
between
those are
rounds?
clay courts,
a
right?
beer. Yeah,
They're clay
Yes.
courts, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, those are nice
Is it
courts.
is it forced you have to drink a beer, or is it just
I
like
mean,
casual?
there are
not like those-
recovering alcoholics who also perform, but they're not allowed to win because part of it is having an impairment while you play.
Right. So it's not like one of those beer marathons where you have to drink a beer every mile.
Well,
26 beers or
you
whatever it
drink a
is.
beer in between every round. There's like
You
6
do?
rounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's not like
So everyone's on the same playing
not
field.
like Dr. Johnny Fever. I did not get better as I
Right.
drank.
Yeah.
My reaction
Not
time
like golf?
so slowly imploded.
Alrighty.
So next time we'll be enjoying some more Juice Punch Hazy India Pale Ale from our friends at Lone Pine. And we'll be talking about Wimbledon wrap-up, Olympics preview, and probably a little sneak at the U.S. Open.
Maybe all things three strikes with the Divas.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to Breaking Back on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to follow us on X and Instagram at Breaking Back Pod.